Hi, I'm Guy Powell, and welcome to the next episode of The Backstory on Marketing and AI. If you haven't already done so, please visit ProRelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the newly released book, The Post-COVID Marketing Machine: Prepare Your Team to Win. And you can find out more information on this at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Today, we're talking about the cookie. The cookie is definitely crumbling, and CDPs can certainly help prevent the mess of the crumbled cookies. So, the big question in the minds of CMOs, entrepreneurs, and the C-suite is how will this impending loss of this really powerful marketing channel impact our digital marketing? Well, let's see if we can help you out today. Whether you're a small or a large business, third-party cookies have been the mainstay of digital marketing, and now by the end of this year, 2024, they will be gone. Today, I'm interviewing two people. One is Rodolphe Dougoud, and he's at 55, and then Bashir Eghbali as well. And so let me just give you a short introduction to both of them. So Rodolphe Dougoud is a project lead at 55, which is a global MarTech consultancy with a singular focus: turning data into actionable insights that drive business growth. His diverse experience in advertising technology, data strategy, analytics, A/B testing, dashboarding, media measurement, and more allows him to navigate the complexities of data and deliver actionable and tangible results. And that is really what's critical. So definitely looking forward to his insights. In addition to Rodolphe, we have Bashir Eghbali, and he is a lifelong technologist and innovator. He currently leads the acceleration team for Zeta Global, a modern AI-powered marketing stack that helps brands and agencies acquire, grow, and retain customers. His focus is on accelerating client use cases and bringing differentiation into Zeta's offerings. So welcome, Rodolphe. Welcome, Bashir. So good to have you.
Thank you. Good to
Thanks
be
for
here.
having us, Guy.
Absolutely. Look forward to learning more about what's going to happen here, especially as it relates to the deprecation of the third-party cookies and the crumbling of those cookies. So in any case, before we get started, tell us your backstory on AI and marketing. How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, I can start. So I've been working with data for the past 7 years now, at 55 for 5 of those. Started mostly with, BI reporting, and then shifted to focus on marketing. And of course, AI, in the classical sense, machine learning, we've been doing this for a while now, here at 55. And recently, of course, we've started focusing more and more on Gen AI because, the new models are coming out have opened just a lot of use cases that can bring a lot of value to marketing. Currently, it's still, very much nascent. There's a lot more buzz than concrete applications. But at 55, we're making sure that, we're bringing concrete use cases to our clients and going, beyond just the buzz.
Cool. And for me, I've, as you mentioned, I've been a technologist for the last 30 years. I've led sort of engineering teams, data teams, data science teams, and for the last few years, I've been working on differentiated marketing solutions for Zeta. And for the last year, one of my focuses has been to help lead our cookieless solutioning and how best we can address and plug in the gaps for clients in the year to come.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, and definitely with the sunsetting of third-party cookies, then, so what should marketers know about this? What do they really have to worry about, get ready for as that deadline approaches, which is now only, what, 8 months away or so?
Yeah, so with third-party cookies, they were essential before because it was one currency, one way of communication that every tool understood. It was ubiquitous, it was simple to use, and we used it for, everything in marketing. We used it for activation because that way we could create very granular audiences that we could target throughout the web. And of course, we used it for measurements because that way we could know specifically, who viewed which ad, who clicked which ad, what they did after viewing or clicking your ad. And so we had, very specific deterministic measurement. The problem is that already nowadays, about half of your users already don't use third-party cookies anymore because Safari, Firefox, and pretty much every browser out there except Google Chrome has already deprecated third-party cookies. And by the end of the year, it's expected that Google will also remove third-party cookies from Chrome, and we won't be able to use them at all anymore, which will impact absolutely every marketer out there. It's a real paradigm shift, and it's going to impact both how we activate our media, but also how we measure it afterwards. And so, that's the situation. And the question is, what can we do about it? Essentially, what you want to do now, well, we still have third-party cookies, at least on Chrome. You want to understand exactly how impacted you are by this deprecation, because if you do a lot of retargeting, if you do a lot of post-view measurement, you're going to be a lot more impacted than advertisers that don't. Everyone's going to be impacted for sure, but not everyone's going to be impacted the same. So you definitely want to measure the impact that it has on you. That way you can find the appropriate solutions. And essentially, nothing's going to replace third-party cookies, but first-party data is going to become more and more important, because instead of having this one, as I said, currency, third-party cookies, now you're going to have to create partnerships with, outside vendors, with publishers. And the way to create strong partnerships and to ensure that, you can follow your users throughout their visits online is to have yourself clean first-party data. And so that's why you have to understand what you currently have, your technical infrastructure, if your data is clean, if it's centralized, and also the capabilities of the publishers that you work with. And this is, I'll let Bashir talk some more about it, but this is where CDPs can become very interesting.
I agree with Rodolphe, and I'll emphasize again, really understanding your use cases, which ones may be impacted by the deprecation of third-party cookies, and how much. We've sort of taken the cookies for granted, and it's been a bit opaque to most marketers because it's been the underlying currency that has allowed all the MarTech and ad tech stacks to talk to each other and for marketing to work. And now all those are getting replaced with multiple alternatives, and it's going to impact different workflows at different levels. Like retargeting may be impacted more than brand marketing. So understanding which ones are important and critical to your marketing activities, I think is a starting point. And we'll get into the CDPs and how they can really help build that foundation of first-party data, which is one of the main sort of staples of transactions in this cookieless world.
Yeah, exactly. And so now you mentioned CDPs. Tell us exactly what that is, and then what that means then in terms of how marketers will use that first-party data to now hopefully, continue the success that they've been having in their digital marketing.
Yeah, so CDPs are customer data platforms. I would say it's an evolution of what we had as DMPs, which were more cookie-based. The goal of a CDP is to help consolidate the view of a brand's customers and potentially also their prospect universe from across all their touch points in their ecosystem, whether that's their point of sale, their digital and web properties, their app properties, or even partner touch points, so that they have a singular view of how their customers are interacting with their brand, and being able to then use that data and enrich it and segment it and run a lot of marketing campaigns and be able to measure it effectively. Before, we had a lot of disparate data everywhere, and marketers never had a unified view of things. And now CDPs are really changing that. So I think that is going to be core, because now a lot of transactions and a lot of enrichments are going to happen at that first-party databases, whether you do it through a clean room or data enrichment. Having clean first-party data that you can match to other partners, whether they're enrichment partners, they're measurement partners, is going to be critical for your reach and for the accuracy and effectiveness of your marketing campaigns.
Yeah. Not much to add to that. It's very complete. CDP is really a one-stop shop for your first-party data. And if you don't know, CDP means Customer Data Platform.
Yeah. So now when you say a customer data platform, does that mean all of my existing customers, or does that also mean hopefully your prospects as well? So you not only have, very strong data, first-party data in terms of what the behavior is of your existing customers, but also in some fashion, some data on your target customers. Is that all included in that?
Yeah, so CDPs, and there are different flavors, but they generally all will help you consolidate your customer data. These are people you have had transactions with and that you have known records about. They can also help you create profiles on anonymous or prospect audiences that are coming. Let's say, for example, somebody comes on your site and checks out a few products and maybe adds a couple to cart, and they don't actually check out. And maybe they're not a previous customer. They've never authenticated with you. You don't know anything about them. But what a CDP can do is help stitch all those interactions together. And again, if they have a good, solid identity resolution layer as well, be able to then retarget those and remarket to them elsewhere, creating incremental revenue and eventually turning them into a customer and a complete record. So they play both parts, being able to enrich and consolidate customer records, as well as stitching together those anonymous interactions so that you can better segment, retarget, and convert those to your customers.
And if
Okay.
you have a strong perspective on your users in your CDP, you can also try to create lookalike audiences and reach new people.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you mentioned the identity resolution layer. What did you mean by that?
So, one of the essential pillars of a marketing stack is so you start with the basics of a CDP, where it consolidates your records from across the systems that you control, and then the second I think pillar of a marketing stack is identity resolution, meaning knowing a lot of brands, especially a lot of retail brands and others, have a majority of their visitors to site be anonymous. They don't log in, they don't authenticate. They may be known customers, and some of them are known customers. They're just browsing anonymously, and some of them are new prospects. And having a robust identity resolution layer helps you be able to re-identify those people if they're existing customers. Then you can enrich the existing CDP records with these new touch points, even though they're browsing anonymously. That helps you complete the picture of how many times they actually interacted with your brand. And maybe there are some incentives that would have gotten them over the hump to increase their lifetime value. And then for the ones that you don't have access to, being able to retarget to them and convert them into customers. That's where identity resolution helps to be able to reach them across multiple channels, whether it's display or email or others.
Mm-hmm. Now, Rodolphe, you mentioned lookalike analysis. Tell us a little bit more about that, just so that the audience can understand that.
Yeah, of course. Essentially, especially the walled garden, but every platform will, well, mostly the walled garden will allow you, if you give them a strong picture of who your users are, to find similar users to send your advertising to. And often the issue is that we don't have enough data on who the user is that's actually coming to my website and converting often on my website. With the CDP, since you have a centralized view of your user, you have a long list of users that come to your website, that convert, that do exactly what you're hoping that they will do. You can send this information to Google, to Meta, and just because of the depth of data that they have on users, they can find users that are similar to the ones that have converted on your websites and push your advertising to those people, because those are the people that are actually interested by whatever it is that you are selling on your website.
Yeah. Now, one thing though that kind of comes to mind when you're talking about capturing all of this user data, which is absolutely critical and, definitely understandable. But how do you handle some of the privacy issues or concerns that might take place?
Yeah, that's a really great question. It's been going on for a while now in Europe, and it's starting in the US. And of course, from a, legislative perspective, there's not a lot of laws in the US that, impede data collection. You have to ask consent in California because CPA, if you're going to sell users' data, and every state is coming up with laws that are similar to this one, but it's nowhere near GDPR in Europe, right? That doesn't mean that a company can still just collect whichever data they want without any consideration for their users, because it's very clear nowadays that users are getting more and more concerned about their privacy. It's top of mind, not just for, a small percentage of the population, but for a lot of people online. We can see it just with the use of ad blockers. Some people use ad blockers because there's too many ads online. Totally get it. But a lot of people use ad blockers because they don't want to be tracked. They don't want to be followed online. If browsers today get rid of third-party cookies, it's not because they want to make our lives harder. It's because users just don't want to be tracked everywhere anymore. So it's essential for companies nowadays to have the technical infrastructure in place for users to express their content. Most people are not going to go on your website and going to look for the one place where they can, make sure they're not being tracked. But for the few percentage of people that actually will make that effort, it's really important for them. And it's a reason not to convert on your website. And as marketers, we have to become more and more aware of the privacy, not just the regulations, but the privacy needs of people, because this is not something that's going to go away. It's not something that's going to become, less important. On the contrary, in Europe already, every marketer always keeps in mind, the privacy aspect of things. It's going to come to the US as well eventually. And it's important that we keep in mind that it's not just, technical or regulation. It's what our users actually want. So instead of trying to always bypass it, it's important that we keep in mind that at some point we have to be respectful of our users' privacy. We shouldn't be sending, lots of like PII to like everywhere and anywhere. We shouldn't be selling our users' data without making it clear for them that we're selling their data. We should make sure that, whatever we're doing it with the benediction of our users. If we have to hide it, if we're concerned about our users knowing that we're doing it, we have to wonder if, that's really the best use of our user data. Because everything that we should do it with the consent of our users.
Yeah, I can imagine, if and larger brands, I can't imagine are going to do that. But if you are a smaller brand or whatever, and you want to risk your reputation by not informing and not getting permission on sharing their valuable data, then that'd definitely be a big negative flag for a lot of potential customers for that brand.
And I
Absolutely.
think increasingly, like states at least are legislating, like CPRA in California, that are regulating the sale of data. I think that the consent management platforms are essential part of for every brand to be able to capture and make sure they're compliant with the multitude of different state legislations within the United States. And if they're working internationally in Europe and Brazil, Australia, Japan, where they have some of these laws. So having a robust privacy and consent framework on top of your CDP, I think is essential to make sure that everything you're capturing is consented. We do that on all of our networks. We make sure we're capturing consent and TCF strings and stuff like that, so that we're only working on the consented data.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I were to implement a new CDP, what are some of the things that me as the CMO or the marketing technologist, what do I really need to know to make sure that I'm really doing the best that I can?
I can take that. So I think the first thing is really understanding your top use case as well. Uh, a CDP really helps consolidate all your data, so you have a central view of your customers, which is great. Understanding what you're going to do with that ahead of time is important to make sure that it's first of all, it's set up appropriately, and that it can address all of your top use cases well. It should be able to make sophisticated marketing simple. Again, CDPs will generate a lot of data points based on the interactions and the journeys of different people, and being able to then run marketing programs on top of that within the CDP and with your partners. It's important that the platform makes it easy to do those and do sophisticated marketing. You do want to have intelligence, actionable intelligence layer to really make sense of all this data. You're collecting all this data, and the next level is really understanding what this data is telling you so that you can test and learn and keep improving the impact and efficacy of your use cases. And then lastly, I would say, again, this is being sort of the second wave of MarTech. A lot of companies are looking to and should be looking to consolidate the number of vendors they're working with and see how many of those they can consolidate with their CDP purchase. First for interoperability and also less number of vendors and people on your staff that need to manage those relationships. The technology is talking to each other. Also becomes critical. The more that's built in under the hood and just works out of the box helps you get to where you want to go faster and with the limited resources that CMOs have.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always limited resources. I don't know why they don't get as much money as they need. Yeah, go ahead, Rudolph.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Bashir was saying, but you always really want to start with your business goals. It seems obvious, but a lot of the time when we look at, a new tool, a new technology, we look at the capabilities of the tool. We don't always take the time to really make sure that we have specifically defined business goals, specifically defined use cases with the prerequisites, the actual people that are going to work on it, the processes around it. And you want to make sure that you define all of this beforehand, because a lot of the time we come in where a company has technology and they want to make sure that, they're actually getting their money's worth for it. And a lot of time the business goals were not clearly defined beforehand. They were, vague. You want to make sure that you make it specific and concrete, and then with that, you can be sure that you have the right technology to meet your goals.
One thing that at least I think for some of the larger brands with, the bigger budgets, they've probably added a new function called the VP of Marketing Technology or something like that. And certainly that's probably, you added to the cost of digital and digital marketing. But how do smaller companies, medium-sized companies that may not be able to afford a full-time marketing tech consultant or a marketing tech VP, how should they operate?
Yeah. I can take that one. I definitely think for, larger organizations, it's necessary to have a marketing tech VP. And for smaller organizations, I would say that on the one hand, marketing people have to be somewhat comfortable with technology, at least a little bit, enough that they can, understand, follow, the trends on the market. And I think for a lot of companies, trusted partners are also going to do a lot of that work. Sometimes media agency, sometimes they're not as comfortable with technology. And so instead you turn more toward really pure like marketing technology companies that will usually always have a branch that does, market research and just thought leadership, and will keep the advertiser updated on how the market is evolving and how they can help them.
Yeah, I agree. Talking to your network and knowing what others are doing that's working, and especially learning from what's not working, what mistakes they made in their technology stack acquisition and avoiding those pitfalls. A lot of it starts with what Rodolphe said, like lack of clarity around business goals and what you need to drive, and how well the technology pieces that you put together can address that, and how simple it is to operate as well. With smaller to medium-sized companies, they don't have too many technical resources to configure a complicated machine that has 2,000 knobs. So That's important for them to know. And then, yeah, relying on trusted partners, trusted vendors that you work with that are more entrenched in the ecosystem and can best help you navigate will be another
Mm.
suggestion.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So it sounds like the partnership, between the media agency side and the client side, at least for the smaller and medium size, has got to get a whole lot stronger. But one thing that kind of comes to mind when I think about that is, so it used to be that, newspaper and direct mail and things like that were very successful. And then all of a sudden they got kind of sideswiped by digital, and this is going back maybe 10 or 15 years. And all of a sudden, all of the media dollars went over to digital and online. And a lot of the newspapers went out of business, and certainly the level of direct mail has gone down. And then with that, the effectiveness continued to grow as digital marketing got more sophisticated, and certainly then as the digital marketing, with the third-party cookies to be able to really target exactly who you wanted, and became really, really, very delivered a very high ROI. Now, what's interesting is we're talking about the third-party cookies being deprecated. So it would seem like the effectiveness of digital marketing is going to go down. Then the second thing, we're also burdening that digital marketing with this overhead of having a CDP and a VP of marketing, of the marketing stack, and maybe some other infrastructure costs. It would seem like now all of a sudden the actual ROI of digital marketing is going to really start to go down. Do you see that as well, or do you see that as a concern that marketers need to start to think about, or how do you guys see that?
Yeah.
I can take a first crack at it. I think you're going to see the marketers that understand their use cases well and really work to optimize them in digital and I would say omni-channel. Again, us at Zeta, we really encourage our clients to look omni-channel with their approaches. Different generations are best reached in different channels. And to your point, to get your return on ad spend, you need to have a strategy that can deliver results with the money that you're putting into it. And with that addressability squeeze, you're probably going to see some of the CPMs on the most addressable part of the web really shoot up, and marketers needing to really optimize their returns on the rest of the web that's less addressable, as well as other channels. We're seeing massive surges for like our email marketing channel or direct mail as really cost effective and performant fully addressable channels. So I think you're right. We don't know exactly where it will fall, but certainly a blended approach and really focusing on optimizing your top use cases will be able to get you the kind of outcomes and results that you need.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And one of the funny things is that now some of the solutions we're proposing to advertisers are actually what we used to do before we had third-party cookies, right? Now we're going to do a lot more of contextual targeting. If you want someone who's, interested in sports, then maybe you should advertise on ESPN. Whereas beforehand, it didn't really matter which website you were on, as long as you had the right audience, right? Now it's going to be a little bit more about exactly where you are on the web, kind of like with billboards.
Yeah, very interesting. I like your point of now back to contextual, or maybe not back to it, but certainly a little bit more of an emphasis on contextual as opposed to just focusing in on the audience and the and using that as a way to define what you're going to be targeting. So we started out with AI a little bit. So how do you see AI playing a role in the transition here as we move to the cookieless future?
Yeah, I think that's also part of the answer to the question you just asked about. Obviously, we know we're not going to have third-party cookies anymore. So deterministic which is, really like observed measurement, is going to become much less reliable simply because we can't follow a user like we used to. But at the same time, AI is getting more and more powerful. And thanks to the insights that we have from when we had third-party cookies, we can actually create models that are still very strong and that have a lot more data than for offline advertising. Even without third-party cookies, by sharing first-party data, by relying on first-party cookies, we can still have some idea of what our users are doing online. And if we leverage AI, we can have a probabilistic measurement that's still very strong, and it still allows us to have very efficient online marketing. So it's going to be less straightforward than before. It's going to be more complex. We have to become more comfortable with the fact that our data is not going to be 100% accurate because it's going to be modeled, but it's still a strong way to optimize our media.
Yeah, I would also say like AI, I think of it as impacting really kind of 3 or 4 areas. One is sort of identity resolution and making more probabilistic decisions about identity in lieu of the third-party cookie deprecation. The second being the workflow productivity, seeing sort of all these Gen AI and AI really helping marketers do a lot more with limited resources. This is going to enable a lot faster loops for test and learn. Campaigns that would have taken a couple months to launch, you would now be able to launch within a week, and you can keep testing and iterating, generating creative, generating the whole campaign, and plugging in the data. And I think that the third one is actionable intelligence. Really, AI is going to be able to sift through these terabytes of data that are being generated from your CDP systems, from your other systems, and bring to you really distilled insights with the corresponding actions that you can take to help that quicken that pace of test and learn. And then lastly, I think you're going to see AI play a major role in sort of DSPs and targeting that it has, but I think more so in lack of third-party cookies to help with optimization and measurement side to do that more effectively across all the cookieless alternative addressability.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And so with all of that, so what are kind of the 3 things that you think that the CMO really needs to keep top of mind as this landscape now really changes, certainly over the next 8 months, and then even into 2025, where the cookies are definitely, where the third-party cookies are definitely gone. So what would you say are the top 3 things that they need to keep in mind?
I would say the first thing is know your top drivers of your performance, your top use cases, because those are the ones you want to prioritize in optimizing and making fully work and excel in the cookieless world. So having priority around what's driving the results for your business. Second is really understanding where then in your stack and in your workflows the impact of the cookieless deprecation is going to happen, and if your current vendors and your current setup is going to support it. I would start testing the alternatives. We're testing with a lot of our clients all these various sort of alternatives to cookies, so they have a better calibration. We also look at their site traffic and what their identity resolution looks like and what it could look like in the future. So doing some of those analysis ahead of time really helps them prepare. And then having trusted advisors as things really change, and there's going to be a lot of smoke and mirror and a lot of different solutions out in the market. Making sure that you have trusted advisors that you can bounce ideas against and check soundness of investments and strategies that you have, I think is also going to be critical to getting the results.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I totally agree with all that. For us, we spent a lot of time talking about the tech, but really, if you remember one thing is that it's not the tech, it's the team. If you have a strong team in place, you're going to be able to handle whatever happens. There's always going to be emerging technology. Today we're talking about third-party cookies and AI. Tomorrow will be something else. People who started working in marketing 5 years ago in Europe didn't expect that they would become privacy experts, but here we are, right? And with the right team, you can always face, whichever environment change is coming. And in digital marketing, those can come very fast because with the right team, as Bashir said, they'll understand your business goals, they'll understand your priorities, and they're always able to make sure that whatever you're adding, new tech, new ways of working, will match those business goals. And that should always be, priority number one.
Well said.
And
Invest in your people.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that actually brings us to our last point, as much as I'd like to keep talking, because this, to me, this is just a fascinating area, and it's so critical here over the next 8 months. And as you mentioned, Rodolphe, I think it was you especially that said, a lot of marketers are not ready yet. And so it's, we've all known this has been coming. So, it's kind of hard to believe, but, budgets are budgets, and marketers' time is always very tight and what have you. But now it's upon us. So I guess the big message is get going. But what I'd like to ask is kind of the last question here is, so what would you recommend to an up and coming marketer for them to really excel in this ever changing landscape of digital marketing?
Yeah. I think, it's going to be curious and always try to learn more because our ecosystem is always going to change and you have to be comfortable with, being uncomfortable. And obviously a lot of what we share, honestly, is online. A lot of this information is available online, but you just have to put in a lot of time to try and learn and try and see exactly what's important. And as Bashir said, we learn a lot more from our mistakes than we do from our successes, honestly. But we tend to put those maybe a little bit less online. We're a little bit less public about those. So I think it really helps out if you just reach out to people. We all love talking about our jobs, but we don't often have the occasion to do so. So I would say reach out to people. We're happy to take some time and, take half an hour to tell you about our jobs, what we do, what we like, where we've made mistakes and where you should avoid them. And I think that's a great way to learn.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I definitely second talking to people and finding out what mistakes they have made. Best way to learn. I'd also add really understanding the business that you're working for and the customers. That's a core of any marketer. And the better you understand what are the levers for the business and what really matters to the consumer or the customer that you have and how they behave. You'll be able to adjust all the pieces of the puzzle, whatever the tech stack, whatever the sort of impeding doom that there may be, to make it work. That deep understanding of your business and customer is something that's invaluable anywhere you work and any marketing role you take. So be great at that, and you'll be exceptional.
Yeah, I like your point about, and I will admit it's hard to admit your mistakes, and certainly I'm sometimes guilty of that. And as I've gotten older, I'm okay with it now. I've kind of come to terms that there's nothing that's going to be perfect. But I do, I agree with you. Being able to quickly learn from your mistakes and use that to your advantage to, propel yourself further makes a lot of sense. Rodolphe, Bashir, thank you so much for being on today and providing some great insight in this really critical time that marketers are in as this technology and the changes right in front of us. But before we go, tell us, where can people reach you, reach your companies, and go from there?
Yeah. You can reach out either via LinkedIn to me or to 55, and obviously on our website, 50-5.com.
And for us, zetaglobal.com, you can reach us there, learn more, or on LinkedIn. You can find me too, and send me any questions you have. I'm happy to connect and help out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And for the audience, please stay tuned for this and many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And please visit marketingmachine.prorelevant.com and learn more about my book, The Post-COVID Marketing Machine, Prepare Your Team to Win. Rodolphe, Bashir, thank you so much. It was really fascinating and definitely a lot to learn and still a lot to do for the deprecation of third-party cookies.
Thank you,
Thanks
Guy.
for having us, Guy. It's great.
Thank you.